The Survivor Specialists are back, and once again, we are joined by Russell Muscle TV as we continue breaking down our Survivor Second Chances to Dreamcast. We've already done the New Era women. We have done the pre-40 men, and now we are doing the New Era men. This will round out. After tonight, you will have all 20 options of who to vote for the New Era tribe. And votes will be due on January 30th, which is a Tuesday by 12 p.m. So if you haven't voted for New Era women yet, New Era men, get in there, vote 12 p.m. January 30th by noon. Is that fine with you, Russell? I didn't even ask if 12 p.m. noon was actually going to be good, but that's
you know what? 12 p.m. noon. That sounds nice. Keep it smooth and easy. So the plan is, everybody, we get the votes in. I'm going to make out a fancy special video. And then we're all going to come over here again and then break down the tribe that's actually released and be like, oh, these tribe dynamics, how are they? Whatever. I'm still waking up. So everyone watching this live, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching your podcast. I'm just excited to be here.
Good. It'll be January 30th. That's when everybody's going to get their votes in. And we'll actually have this Google form up, and it'll be in the description of the video by the end of the video once we actually come up with the 10 names, because we're doing this live, just like we did the first two episodes. If you haven't checked out the first two episodes yet, go check them out. We narrowed it down to 10 names. I love after the fact how much like crap we get for all of this. I put out a poll on YouTube for both series, or for both episodes, asking people who they thought our biggest snub was. And I gave them the 5 nominees. Who do you guys think the biggest snubs were as voted by the fans, out of the men and the women?
Dreams?
I'll let you go first. Yeah, I think that's true.
You're going with Dreams. Okay.
Dreams, or I feel like it's got to be someone that we had pretty close, or maybe someone.
Here's the 5. Here's the 5 people I put up for the pre-40 men. I put Jay, Brett, Shane, Marty, and Dreams.
Jay was on the thumbnail. Like, that's a huge snub.
It's a huge snub.
That's good. That's a twist. It's like, wow, it's obvious that Jay's going to be on because he's in the thumbnail, and then boom.
Not today. It was Jay. Jay got 41% of the votes, saying that he was our biggest snub. Shane was second with 23%. Dreams was fourth with 22%. Marty got 9%, and Brett got 6%, which is funny, though, because Marty was one of the last people. It was Marty, Dreams, and Josh that we had at the end. Who do you think from the women? I put up Carla, Noelle, Evie, Franny, and then I put Lindsay. You choose which one. So it could have been either of them. Who do you think ended up getting the most votes there?
I'm going to say Carla.
Will?
Yeah, Carla or Evie. I mean, I was shocked that we didn't even get. I wanted both of them on.
Maybe the good Lindsay. Man. The good Lindsay.
Bill and Russell really messed it up for everybody.
Carla had
good guys.
Carla had 37%. Franny was 30%. Noelle was 14%. Wow. Evie was 11%. So Evie was actually fourth out of all those. And then Lindsay was 7%.
Combine both Lindsays together. That's crazy.
I know. I was also making it so you could only pick one. So Carla was the most popular pick there out of everybody. But those votes are in. I mean, we almost have 900 votes on the women right now. So if you're voting, keep voting. But remember, only vote once per day. If you're voting like 30 times, I'm just deleting your most recent votes. So don't vote 30 times. I can see how many times you vote.
Just delete all the votes. If you overvote, you lose all your votes. Don't count.
That's some dedication.
Yeah, it's got to be a punishment. It can't just be we're going to do all this extra work and monitor your votes. It's like, no, we got to incentivize extra voting.
What is this we talk? When have you monitored any votes or done any extra work on that, Will? Come on, get out of here.
I showed you how to make it select 5 out of 10 options. You had a drop-down menu, a long list.
So, guys, we were like about 10 minutes late because Will couldn't figure out his microphone. So that's where we're at with this.
I got a new microphone. If you're watching on video, you can see it's a fancy new microphone. Phil has been yelling at me to get a microphone this entire year. So
yeah, it's only 22 days, so we didn't have to listen to me yell that much. But all right, we're gonna get 10 men from seasons 41 through 45. I posted this one out on Twitter and YouTube today, asking everybody who they'd want to see if they could only pick one person. This was the one that people were having the hardest time narrowing it down to one. I think I kept getting a lot of multiple person answers. A lot of people that you'd kind of expect with Jesse, Ricard. I forget who. I'm trying to think, like, Caleb, obviously. But then there were a lot of people who would just throw in like Xander, and a lot of people wanted to throw in Deshaun and Danny. So this is a fun one. I'm excited to get through 10 names, and we are going to bring back the infamous draft that we did the first time, because going through these season by season isn't nearly as exciting as what we did with the first 39 seasons. Well,
this one's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Really I'm already like I feel bad for the people that aren't going to make it on, because there's a lot of people I want to see play again. And I feel like I don't really agree with the fans for the most part on who they want to see. I feel like some of my picks are going to be a little, out from left field. And, Russell's just going to know me over and over. He's going to get that sweet, sweet revenge and just know all my favorites. Because honestly, some of those names you just mentioned, Phil, I know they're fan favorites. I don't need to see play again. So obviously we'll talk about it when we get there.
What about from Survivor Archivist? Gio, Voci, Roxroy, Sifu, and Daniel Strunk. That is the 5 that they are ready for. That's their ballot.
There's some names on there I'm ready for.
Yeah, I'm ready. All right, let's do it, but let's try to figure out, is there a guarantee lock that we want to say, because we had Carolyn as the guarantee lock for the New Era women. Is there somebody that you think, if we did this, there is no way their name would not come up for this season and would not be on the ballot? Is there one name that we can all agree on to just lock in, and then we'll each kind of pick our 3, do our tabling, our chair, as we had in the last episode? Is there anybody that we want to agree on, or is Will's just shaking his head already?
I think no. I don't think there's an obvious standout, and I think it'd be more fun to. I don't think there's one person. I feel like there's like 4 or 5 people you could claim are obvious, but then that doesn't make them obvious if there's that many people. But what made Carolyn and Dom our locks out front is that they were that far ahead of the rest of the pack. Whereas I feel like this is like a way more tighter race here. So I don't want to lock anybody in yet.
I feel like it's funny because people are like saying Jesse, but Jesse was also the obvious winner of season 43. So, I mean, how obvious? I mean, Jesse's been down this road before. I don't know if we can just lock him in right away, because he just happens to the poor guy.
And if we all want to agree on Sifu, then we can.
Well, I mean, I've been dying to get Sifu back on the show, and I know he's only been off the show for like a month and a half, but I've been dying for it. So, but no, okay. So we don't agree. We're not going to do it. We're not going to put anybody in right away. We're going to kind of let this develop in a more natural way. And I'm okay. I'll take last pick if you guys want to fight about who gets pick number 1. I'll like be the hero here and take last pick and let the feud really develop right off the bat, because whoever gets first pick could technically be the one who's deciding 4 people instead of 3. Although, the way this has gone so far, that's not how we mattered at all.
Yeah, that's not how we do it. It's not, again, this draft is a way that we each can have a turn talking about somebody. We're not drafting our own teams, our own list. We're all having the conversation together. So that's not going to happen.
Oh, no. But, I'm trying to beat you here.
Russell, there's no beating. There's no competitiveness to this. But I want to see who Russell's got. I'm ready to just say no right out of the gate.
I want to preface. Let me preface this before Russell, because I know Russell, you were about to say before, but we got a guy, Tom, who has been making a whole bunch of Instagram, social media, YouTube shorts and clips for us. And he's been doing a great job, even when we just talk over the heck out of each other. So when you name your person, Russell, actually tell me why you want them, not just whatever the hell you did with Heather that one time, okay? Actually tell me why you want this person, not just, hey, justice for said person, as you still have it in the background. My goodness gracious. But all right, Russell, what were you going to say? You were about to say before something as well.
Yeah, so I gotta say, if you're watching the video and not on the audio version, justice for Heather back there, you could check out our very first stream. I tried my best, everyone in chat, to get Heather involved, and it just ultimately didn't end up going my way. I thought I was close to getting her on the ballot, but we'll see what happens here today. I do also need to say, I'm don't think it's a good idea for me to be going first. Whoever I pick, Will's going to be shutting them down and won't be ended up getting on the draft. So it's kind of like a give or take here. I get to go with the big picks first, but then they don't get to be on the draft because Will's going to shut them all down. Anyways, I'm going to go to Survivor 41 first. And in my opinion, one of the biggest names of the season, there was a duo involved in it who we were debating whether or not to put on the season as a whole anyway, on the girls' side of things. This player, when they got to Ponderosa, declared themselves one of the best to ever play. I loved watching them play. I think they are coming back again. the era of Survivor 41. We're now going into Survivor 46 next season. There's been so many new era casts, so we'll see how they hold up in the future. But give me Ricard Foye. What are your
Will, what do you think about the fact that Ricard said he was one of the best to ever play, self-proclaimed humble? How do you feel about that?
I think Ricard was a strong player in all facets of the game. I mean, people forget he was a challenge beast. We all obviously saw a lot of strategy. He was cutthroat. Socially, I don't know if he was fully there. He clearly did a better job than Shan. It seemed like Shan kind of lost everybody, that she was bossing everyone around. Ricard, I think, was able to be a little bit more subtle with his scheming and manipulation. So I think he's not the best player ever. I'm not going to come here and say that, but hey, I like the believing in yourself, having confidence in your game and yourself. And what did he get? 5th place? He's won a mini challenge away from getting to get fire at least, and probably winning the season. So I'm okay with building yourself up. Maybe it's a little cocky, a little confident, but he's a villain, and I'm okay with that. Ricard for me is someone I get the hype, and I think he played well, but I just don't know what else we're going to see from Ricard. I don't know what new stuff. I don't know what second chance storyline there really is. I think I said it was Shan. Like they went to 4 tribal councils pre-merge, because it was just Ricard and Shan by the end of it, and there wasn't a medevac or anything. Like they voted 4 people. They had so much work going on early in the pre-merge of that season, and then continued. He lasted all the way into the finale. So like I feel like we've seen Ricard's full game, and if he comes back, what are new are we seeing from Ricard? Is he learning something? I mean, I think he played so well. He was a big threat and got voted out. Like what are we supposed to see? So as much as I was a fan, I do think he is a very, very strong player. He's not someone for me that I'm like, that person needs a second chance. I need to see them play again, even though he is a big fan favorite.
I feel like Ricard is this one's tough for me, because I thought for sure Will was going to have Ricard on the list, because I don't have Ricard on my list. But here's what I think with Ricard, okay? And Russell, like you threw up a softball.
Russell's
here.
in shock. He's like,
This was literally a softball. And I think Ricard
Phil and I are just like, nope, not on my list.
Oh, Ricard wasn't on the ballot.
Let me say something. Ricard wasn't even the first person on my list. I looked down my list and I was like, okay, who can I go on an easy one first to start the stream? Maybe wake up a little bit here and start off a little bit easy. And both of you shutting this down. You know what? I should have stayed asleep. I should have gone back to bed.
Here's my thing. I want to say with Ricard. Ricard feels like more of an unfinished business kind of guy than a second chance kind of guy. I feel like Ricard, if they were to ever do a robbed, it's hard because it is a second chance season. And Ricard was that guy who was so close and just missed. You know what I mean? And had he made it one more tribal council, he is going to be sitting there at least making fire in a worst case scenario. I don't know if he gets the votes at the end. I know a lot of people think it's obvious that he would. I don't think that that's true. I think Erica might have beaten him had he gone up against Erica. We just got to see so much more of Ricard's game. It's insane because Ricard was going to tribal council so much. I think Ricard is probably going to end up on this ballot. But I don't think Ricard, when you start looking at all these names, is as much of a lock as people think, because I do agree with Will. We saw so much Ricard, and if this was fans versus favorites, that's where you put Ricard, right? Because that's where Yao-Man came back. Yao-Man wasn't a guy who wasn't going to be on Survivor Second Chance, but he felt like this kind of I don't know. To me, when they did that initial Second Chance ballot, it was so many people who didn't even really come close. And there were, obviously, you were going to get your Spencer, you were going to get Tasha, who kind of finished in, I think she was 6th place. But this, I don't know. I feel like
right. It doesn't feel right as a second chance. I don't know what question are we asking? Can Ricard fix this or do this differently this time? I feel like we've seen so much of Ricard, and just I'm not dying to see him back, especially with this really, really competitive list of names that we're about to go through.
Well, I
will put him on. I will say we should table him. I'm not trying to say an outright no, but I mean that is where I'm leaning overall. I got just be
chat. I'm gonna need your help here. I think what we need to remember is the second chance. Yes, it needs to be a really big part of it for the theming, but the big part about what made the first one so special is, first of all, the Cagayan crew, but voting for your fan favorites to come back as well. If we need to remember Survivor 41, Ricard was at the forefront. Now, the edit of the show wasn't the best in Survivor 41. Where the heck was Erica? Where was Heather for the whole season? But Ricard was a favorite in the community for most of that season, not only as a hero favorite, but he was actually a villain favorite as well. So that's a part we need to remember going through this, not just second chance, but the fan voting aspect. I'm okay with tabling him.
Yeah, let's table him. And I do think with Ricard being somebody who after the show did feel like he deserved to win. I know that was like a big part of his post-game press and everything. Like he really feels like he earned that win in that season and that he wasn't getting the credit and everything from his cast. I mean, he really thinks that he's like one of the best players of all time. And maybe he is one of the best. He's not the best, but maybe he is one of the best. I don't know. But I do think that somebody with that kind of fire and that kind of like arrogance / believe in yourself, however you want to lean on what side of the weighted thing, I do believe that that's going to create like fire TV, whether he's on for 2 episodes or he's on until the final 3. Like Ricard is going to come out swinging the entire time. Do worry that people are going to see Ricard's game, know kind of what he was like on the show, and just say, you know what, he's not making the cut for me. But let's table him. Let's figure it out. Will's going to throw out a name, Russell, that it's going to be an underhanded toss. He's probably going to throw out a pre-merger, so just get ready to shoot this down.
Yeah, I'm not ready for it.
No, actually, I would like to continue the conversation because part of the reason I don't really need Ricard on is because I have someone who I want to see play more that is basically the same archetype, like a snarky strategic villain. And this is in season 42. I'm looking to Omar. And Omar's season ended differently than Ricard's. Ricard got kind of built up, biggest threat. He was winning immunities. Like, wow, if we go to the end, we can't beat him. And he just kind of gets this fizzled out game at the end. Omar got blindsided before the finale. Like Omar made mistakes and didn't see them. I think he has more to correct. And I think he was a more fun, like mischievous villain. Like he was straight up just lying to people. He just lied to Mike, like, hey, Hi thinks like you're his puppet and he'll do whatever you say and stuff like that. Like Omar was a villain, but he was like so lovable and energetic. And I think Omar is is probably he might not be number 1, but top 3 for me of who I want to see back on the season.
Russell, what do you think about that?
He's also Canadian, so that really helps him his chances for winning the game coming back. I have Omar on my list right under Ricard, so I'm good for him. I really like him. Will, I don't like to agree with you too much on stuff, but you do have a really good point here on this one. I can't argue back and forth. We're going to have a lot of struggle here, guys. We got to pick 10 people from 5 really good seasons of cast. Like this is going to be really, really hard. And looking down my list, I don't know where we're going to end with all these 10, but I'm really good with Omar.
Do you agree with me that Omar and Ricard fill a similar archetype, or am I seeing that incorrectly?
Somewhat. I think Ricard can add a little bit more. I think Omar is that villain in confessional behind your back, where Ricard will say it to your face, which will add a little bit more to it, I think.
I think Ricard is more dramatic TV. Yes. I really do. Because I think Ricard is the kind of person, like Ricard has a little Russell to him, right? Where he's going to go and he's going to say to your face what's pissing him off if you're pissing him off. Omar is going to be like, oh, that's great. And then he's going to turn around and he's going to go over to the, whatever and say, I don't like that person. And I don't like what they're saying. And I want to vote them out of the game. And here's how I'm going to do it. I think that Omar is the more interesting of these two. I think it would actually be quite fun if both of them ended up on the season. Like, I think that would be interesting. But if I had to pick between the two, I'm going Omar as well. Omar was in my top 5 of choices to come back and play a second time. So I can't really shoot it down.
And why is that? Didn't you just say you think Ricard would make better TV, yet you're going with Omar? Can you explain?
I think
that?
Omar. No. I think. Well, okay. So by better TV, I guess I mean like at camp, those types of confrontations that reality TV want. You're going to be more likely to get those from Ricard. I think Omar has a better chance to win a second chance type season. And I think, Will, based on what you were saying before, I think that Omar is the type of player who has a lot to learn from his first time out there. It wasn't a one slip up. There were a couple things that Omar did. And Omar was in the power alliance. Ricard never was. Ricard was kind of in that dwindling tribe. I think Omar really has a mind for the game. I think he's a lot more unassuming. I think he would come out, be able to downplay himself. I think he'd be a little bit like David Wright. And David Wright in Edge of Extinction was really solid. David Wright got. It was going to happen. But if you're doing an all returning player season, I think Omar is harder to get than Ricard. Ricard to me feels like 10th, 11th, 9th place, somewhere in that range. Omar feels like somebody who could trick you into letting him get way further than you should let him. So are we doing Omar? Is Omar in?
Omar's in for me.
Omar's in, off the table. Okay.
Omar's in, off the table. Okay, so our first name off the list is Omar from season 42, which means I'm up, right? Finally, what the people want to hear is me. I've talked a lot. I really love the third placers from this new era. And I think that a lot of them have a lot of game left to play. I think a lot of them were on the wrong side of things. Romeo, I know, Will, I brought that up on one podcast. You're like, actually, I don't know if Romeo was really on the wrong side. I think he meeting the rice and stuff, he's doing to himself a bit. But like between Xander, Owen, Jake, and Carolyn, those three third placers are really, really solid. Or those four third placers are really, really solid third placers. The first one I'm going to put up, because I think it's going to be the easiest one for me to argue, even though I'm going to be coming back to these third placers, is Jake. And I think Jake is phenomenal TV. I think he was on the wrong side of everything the entire game. And yet he still got to final three with a smile on his face, only because he won fire. Otherwise, he would have been crying. He was miserable up until that moment. But it felt like the fire was a nice redemption arc for him. And I almost feel like that fire-making win could lead into his entire storyline for his second chance. It took me 25 days to start to be able to play a Survivor. I didn't make a thing happen until 25 days into the game. And now I got to make fire. I sat there. I watched Austin and D get all the votes. Even though I know I played a good game, I played as good as I could have. I will never, ever, ever let myself not be in the power position again. He tried not to let himself be, without any footing in this game. However, he wasn't able to make it work. He tried. He comes out and plays a second time and he starts to feel the game slipping away from him. He will burn that place down. I think Jake is a lock. I think he's one of the best personalities. And I think he's, Will, you talked a little bit in the first episode of the series, how it's a little, the casting's a little homogenous, right? Like it feels like there's a lot of like the same archetype of like college educated and things along those lines. Jake, he's college educated. I don't really remember, but he just felt different from a lot of the other people who were on the show. I know he loves the game. I know he's a big Survivor nerd, but he felt like he was portraying it in a different way than we see Brando and Drew and a lot of the other players that made it deep in the game. So I'm going and saying Jake from season 45 is my first pick.
I like Jake. I really do. One of the fun parts near the end of Survivor 45 for me was having him time after time trying to make something happen, and then it doesn't. The Charlie Brown effect kind of thing. We'll see as this live stream goes on, but someone who had a similar kind of game to Jake, I don't know if I want to put him and Jake on the ballot at the same time. So for now, I'm super cool putting Jake on the table. Jake or that other person that will probably come up very, very soon. I don't want to put both of them on the ballot, in my opinion.
See, I think both of them could go on the ballot almost as a T-Bird versus Kimmy, where one was going to get on. And we're talking about Owen, right? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Owen.
Yeah. I think it's almost like a T-Bird versus Kimmy, where they both made the ballot and you're kind of then forced to pick the one you like more or who you think will be better TV. In that first season, that's what they did. I don't know how Andrew Savage and Terry Dietz both made it, because that is who was supposed to go head to head for that one spot. Instead, they both got it, probably because Shane was not in for some reason. But I like Owen a lot too. And I've said numerous times on this podcast, and I know that I was doing these shows with Alexa during the time I was saying this, so I'll reiterate it here. I think Owen could go down as one of the best third place finishers in the show's history, because Owen gets the game. And I know people think he's terrible at Survivor. I see on Twitter, I see on the internet all the time how Owen is just shit at Survivor. I see it. I get it. That's what everybody's saying. I don't think he was, though. I think Gabler was such a shock to every single person on that season. If you're going to say Owen's bad at Survivor, Cassidy might be bad too, because Cassidy didn't see Gabler coming either.
Don't tell on the internet.
I know. I love Cassidy. Don't worry, guys. I'm just saying this. I'm just saying, like, both of those players were duped by how much Gabler had influenced that jury. And so I know that 43 probably has the best pool of men to pick from with Jesse, Cody, James, Owen. I know I'm probably Sammy. I'm forgetting Sammy. Dwight. I mean, I don't know. Whoever you want to go with here. I think, though, Owen is somebody, it depends on, do they want somebody that's actually going to be able to win the game? I don't think Cody can ever win Survivor. I think he is bound to be 5th, 6th place. He's like Zaheer, right? They're never going to let him get to the final 3. So Owen, for me, is a little bit different than Jake, because I think Owen would try to make sure he got power, but Owen's not a villain. And having talked to both of these people, Owen, I don't think really can turn that villain thing on as quickly as Jake will. And I think Jake would be more willing. So I think they're two very different players who got stuck in a very similar circumstance. And I think that's almost a little bit to do with the circumstances of the shorter game. I think the shorter game might be making it harder for these people who, once they're at the bottom, it's so hard to get enough power. And I think juries are voting for different things nowadays. And they want people who had to make moves and were in control. Once you're out of control, it's hard to get it back. So I think Owen and Jake are both phenomenal options. It just comes down to, do we want to put both on the ballot? One of these two players, though, is absolutely going to make this ballot by the end of this night. Yes. I just think, is there enough room for both? I don't think we say no right now, but it will be interesting as this develops. Will, you were even like, yeah, it's got to be Owen. What do you think about these two?
No, I just we kept dancing around the name. I just wanted to make it clear for everyone listening, like, who we're actually talking about. So I just want to say, like, yeah, we're talking about Owen and Jake here. They were in similar circumstances. For me, Jake is just so much more of a compelling character on TV. And it's not really about their gameplay, but just like the way Jake's story unraveled. We saw him try to put together so many different plans throughout the season. And then he'd tell Katurah, and then Katurah would like spoil the plan in like, she'd find a new way every time. And it feels like that was his, and that wasn't his fault. That was his only option, was to go to Katurah. And hey, Katurah, maybe if she gets to the final 3, she gets votes and wins. Like, maybe we didn't see exactly her game. I'm not trying to put the blame all on Katurah and like hate what she did. I know she gets a lot of hate for like not making these moves with Jake. But if you're in Jake's position, I don't know what else he could have done a lot of the time. You're doing everything that you have to do in order to make a move, in order to build your resume or take agency or have control that he kept fighting for. And at some point, if the players don't do it, what do you want them to do? So I feel like he is the perfect second chance candidate. It's like, give him a new tribe, give him a new group of people to work with, and let's see him play the game, and let's see maybe if he can pull off some of these moves. I've never seen a fire making challenge, or maybe any challenge in any show, where the outcome of it has nothing to do with who's going to win the show or win the game or have any determination in placement. It was a purely emotional challenge where you are rooting for Jake to win strictly from an emotional perspective, knowing that he's going to get 0 votes anyway, yet we still care. I've never felt like that. Never happens on these shows. So, yeah. Or if they try to make it happen, it feels really contrived and it feels really over the top, like Zaheer going across the balance beam and Game Changers. You are like rolling your eyes through the back of your skull because you're like, Jeff, what are you doing, man? This is like, I get it's inspirational, and I'm not trying to hate on it.
It's really not. But I'm going to be honest. I don't think it is.
What happened with Jake? We could feel his passion, his emotion, his strike, his real anger. It was real. It wasn't contrived. It was actually, you could tell how badly he just wanted to win fire and be in it. And so I just haven't seen a player like that, I think, in the show's history, and he's got to have a second chance. So for me, Jake is like 100%. He's got to play again.
So with me throwing his name out and Will saying 100%, are we putting Jake on, or am I tabling both of them because we haven't?
It's up to you, Phil, because Russell has said table. I'm saying 100%. So if you say 100%, that's 2 out of 3. You know, you're going to Hollywood.
I know, but so much of me so much of me is like, do I really want to put Jake and eliminate Owen right now? Because I think we don't have
to. Owen won't be eliminated. Owen, we can solve the discussion.
It's not that we're eliminating Owen. It's that we're saying, yes, Jake has to play again. Like, I don't know who deserves a second chance more than anyone. Like, I think it might be Jake.
Yeah, and you brought up the point, Will, where people were talking about, or where you were just talking about how at that final fire, it was like whoever won that wasn't going to win. I know a lot of people will try to make the argument that Katurah was going to win. Katurah wasn't going to win. We did a tell-all with Bruce from that season, and he talked about, how that went down. And I know Bruce and Katurah were on opposite sides of everything, but go check out that interview. It's a good interview. It's really fun to listen to. And Bruce is a great guy. I love talking to him. I'm not taking Bruce's side over Katurah, but also based on exit press from other players, Katurah wasn't going to win. However, if Katurah would have won that final making, you still would have had an emotional response to it. You would have been upset for Jake. You would have been happy for Katurah, who had this like really crazy backstory, and neither one of them was going to win. I think sometimes like you have to kind of balance that, right? Of like, who are we trying to put on this season? Are we putting people that we think can win, or people who are really great TV? To me, I think Owen has a better chance of winning than Jake, but I think Jake is great TV. That's just my opinion.
Jake's great TV, but I feel like he could also win. His plans weren't that bad. Like he wasn't.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Like he was very like correct in a lot of the decisions he made. I know some people give him flack. Why did he tell Austin about his idol in the finale? It's like, guys, that was the entire point of his strategy, was to let that leak, get the votes onto him, or move the votes over to Katurah, play the idol for Katurah, save the day. So I don't know. I like Jake a lot. I think he's just a great character. Want to see him play.
Yeah. Again. I think we put Jake on. I do. I mean, I threw his name out, so I'm going to be fine with it. I want to put Jake on. So Jake from season 45. Is his last name O'Kane? It is, right?
O'Kane, yep.
Okay. Jake is on. All right, Russell. You're the only one whose name didn't work the first time around. So what do you got?
And I don't think I'll get a name on this entire podcast.
That's my goal.
Yeah. Let's see. Who could I do that's a little bit spicy here? You know what? I'm going Survivor 44, baby. Let's go to it. I'm going Survivor 44, and I'm going pre-merge. I hope this name is on some of your lists. We got a player who I think had some of the best potential. It's just things ultimately one bad bounce or one too much of a rock climb later had him injure himself. We're going Matthew Grinstead-Mayle. This guy was here to play so hard early on in the game. Survivor 44, they felt the need to throw in all these birdcage fake idols to spice up the game, whatever they like to do in the new era of Survivor. Matthew didn't need this. He was already making his own fake idols, causing chaos out there. He was making sub-alliances with swapped players, Carson over there. He was making moves, making things happen. Unfortunately, I'm going to rock too high, hurting himself. He had to pull himself from the game, which I think is a great second chance opportunity. And for the amount of game this guy showed that he wasn't able to actually pull off and do, I think he's a great pre-merger for us to include on this ballot.
Well, what do you think about Matthew?
I knew his name would come up, and I think it's just too hard to not put him on just because he got medevaced and like was showing so much promise. Like, am I the biggest fan of him? Was he the best TV? Like, no, probably not. But thematically, with second chance, it's hard to pick anyone better. So I'm pretty good with Matthew. I have him at actually number 10 on my list. So he's in my top 10.
I didn't have him in my top 10, but actually one of the players I had in my top 10, I had second thoughts about because, the conversation we've had a lot is what are we going to learn from this person again? And I'm not going to say who the person is in case it comes up later. I'll talk about it. But Matthew is somebody where there is that gigantic question mark circling what could have been. And he seemed like he had a lot of control. He was playing hard. He had an idol. He had given out a fake idol. He had so much going on. If he makes the merge, this is a guy who's probably making it to final 6, final 7. I met Matthew. You don't expect him to be as big. Like, he was a big narrator on that season. When you meet him in real life, he doesn't have one of those like, oh my God, he just owned the room. And that's not an insult. It's amazing how he was able to on TV be such a big part of that with so many big personalities. And he only finished 12th place, which I think is or was it 12th or 13th, whatever place he finished. But all of that's to say, that's such a big check mark in his favor. Because if he's getting a lot of screen time without even going far in the game, that says a lot about how production and stuff feels about him. I think Matthew probably needs to be on this list because who else could you say from this new era truly deserves a second chance other than
Bruce.
him? Like, he is the definition of it. And Bruce got it. And Bruce got
Bruce
the
got
second
it.
chance. Yeah,
Bruce got it.
Exactly. So are we putting Matthew on? I mean,
well, let's do it. Let's just stop talking about it before you guys second guess
Change our mind?
yourselves. Yeah.
I got to copy and paste his name.
Yeah, maybe I will second guess myself.
Yeah. Will, who you got?
There's so many. Let's talk about Jesse. I think Jesse is like, if there was going to be a slam dunk, I said earlier, I think it's a tight race for who the obvious person would be. I think Omar very much to me was obvious. Jesse to me is also obvious. Ricard would have been obvious to some people. So like, I think Jesse, he gets so close. He's considered like Ricard's statement probably works better for Jesse to actually say I'm the best player ever without winning the game, because he's literally like, he got way closer. He's a fire making competition away from winning the game. Made one of the
guy
best
who
moves.
set the record.
Right.
At the time, Gabler set the record in fire. So, how can you even prepare for that? But continue.
So, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on Jesse? I mean, he got so close. And is there going to be a huge target on his back and he's going to have a really difficult time? Yes, but I do think he's such a good player and he's so social that if anyone can overcome that, I mean, we saw Tony win a second time. How the hell does that happen? You just mentioned Parv coming into Micronesia and Heroes vs. Villains, and she makes it to the end in both of those seasons. So I think we can't just say, hey, they're too big of a threat, they're not going to win. Good players find a way, and I would love to see Jesse get that second chance.
I don't think Russell, I don't know how you feel about it. I don't know if there's any way we don't put Jesse on this list. That's who I thought the name was going to be when I said, can we just agree on somebody? But Will kind of shot that down, and then he brings up Jesse anyway. Russell, would he have been your kind of locked in guy at the beginning?
Yeah. Jesse's amazing. He did so. Like the problem is, Will, you kind of stated it. He's going to be a huge threat going into it, but I think he's that good of a player where he can Tony his way, Parvati his way. He can find a way through the situation. Maybe have someone give him an idol and vote him out. Whatever he does, he made the magic happen. And I want more magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Jesse's a lock. I mean, the whole story with him and his family, and it was, the unfinished business, get that money, baby, all of that. Everybody thought he was such a guaranteed winner going into that finale. Falls just short. I just think there's no way they don't put him back on. I mean, that is the absolute gold that Survivor is looking for when they're putting together this type of season. And I think when all is said and done, I think Jesse will end up getting the most votes out of anybody on this list, no matter who else we put on. So I think upsy needs to be on there. And so I already typed him in.
Good. See, Russell, that's how it's done. That's how it's done. You just toss out. You say no. Let's not do the lock, and then you bring it out, and then that's how you get the yes from everybody.
I love that.
See, I see you playing the game, right? It is competitive. Who can get the most on the list?
Let's do this here. Well, first we have JD from season 41 saying, I don't think production loved Matthew putting himself in danger like that. JD is, I think, a little concerned that maybe his pre-merge spot might have just been taken. I think JD's feeling that a little bit.
I think they could be neck and neck. I mean, maybe we move Matthew to the table.
No, Matthew's in.
Matthew
in.
Makes sense. Matthew makes sense.
For now,
don't take it away from me, Will. You can't do this to me.
There's a cold-blooded lock here though. And JD's name's going to come up in conversation later, right? I don't think there's any way it doesn't because he was such a big personality and that was just a crazy pre-merge. But I got
JD in my top 10. So.
Well, guess what?
JD's on my list too.
If you don't have this guy in your top 10, because I'm bringing up the names now, I think you're crazy because we didn't see the end of this story, but we did see a cool move that wasn't actually a move. There was no strategy really to it. It just had to happen. And that is Caleb. I think Caleb is a fan favorite. I think Caleb has great social strategic gameplay, like a lot of good energy for that. I think he's a good physical threat. I think the craziest part about this season is that they put Caleb on this season as if he was like Arnold Schwarzenegger. When you look at the rest of his cast, nobody even comes close to the level of like physicality that Caleb had. I know that Austin was a jacked guy. I know Bruce won a bunch of challenges. But Caleb was put on that yellow tribe as if he was going to be able to carry them the way Jonathan Young carried that tribe in season 42, which was never going to happen. But that's how they treated it, because we're starting to see less and less people that look like Caleb, like the strong, buff guys who are just like obvious challenge threats. Caleb has a social game to overcome it. And to me, Caleb is like the new era Joe, right? Of the fans like him a lot. He's a really good social and physical player. The strategy might not be there 100%. It might be a little transparent. You might be worried that if you let him win even one immunity or go at least even one spot further, you want to vote him out. But I think this guy needs to have a second chance. He was on the worst tribe in the history of the show. 2 quitters. Don't forget, there were 2 quitters, and I'm never going to apologize for saying how I feel about them. There's 2 quitters from that tribe, and Caleb got stuck with that. And Caleb still overcame and still made it as far as he pretty much could, almost was able to pull off a huge move with Jake. I think Caleb has to be on this season. And when I look at the season 45 cast, I know we've been talking a lot about, well, how many people are you really going to have from each season, things like that. I know there's a couple of people from this season, but I truly believe that there's really nobody to consider from the pre-merge. There's nobody really, other than maybe, we already talked about Jake, but like Drew and Austin, what else is there to their games? Caleb, I have so many question marks. So I have to put Caleb on here. And like, I think Caleb probably ends up getting the second most votes when all is said and done. That's just my thinking on that.
So a little bit of a hot take. Has Caleb already gotten his second chance? The shot in the dark hit. First time in Survivor history. That 1 in 6 odds. That's his second chance. He hit it. And then he gets voted out right away afterwards. I'm just trying to be devil's advocate the most I can here, because I agree. Caleb is a fan favorite, and if we put him on the ballot, he's an automatic lock. In my opinion, we put him right on the ballot. I'm just trying to see any argument against it, and I don't think there is. Will
looks like he wants to have one.
Yeah, Caleb's not on my list for top 10. I get that he's a big favorite. I think Phil kind of made the case for me on why he shouldn't be on this list. I think his game would be similar to Joe's. I think he's so charming and so sociable that it actually hurts his social game. Like people, like he's too good that it makes him bad at the game, honestly. Like, and even when he went to do like the tribe raid and take stuff, he started talking to everybody. Everyone's like, wow, that guy, like I'm so charmed by him. I think like I'm scared of him now. Like he's way too good at this. And like you just said, Russell, he got shot in the dark, got his second chance, and that's really not my reasoning. But the fact that he was saved by the shot in the dark and then goes home immediately the next tribal, like he had 2 more days in another tribal council to finagle his way in and play the game. And I feel like if he couldn't do it then, what's going to be different here now that everyone
he didn't have 2 more days?
Or one
I got to jump in. I'm sorry.
Happened.
No, but this is actually important. This is actually important.
Talk, go.
I'm going. It was the next day. So Jay Maya goes home on night 13 and Caleb plays the shot in the dark. The next day they wake up. They have about 2 or 3 hours. They go to a challenge and split into 2 separate tribes. He had no chance in hell. And then they vote that night. He had no chance.
Yeah.
He had no chance. He really didn't.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did it early this time. And Sifu went home first, but Caleb only had the night after tribal, which everybody comes back, they air their laundry, and then they go to bed. And then they wake up the next morning. People are probably getting pulled away for confessionals. And Caleb is like, how am I going to strategize? People are getting pulled away for confessionals. And then it's, oh, by the way, now we're leaving. You're going here, and you don't know who you're going to be split up with. I think Caleb kind of got screwed because he didn't have a chance to get his second chance after playing the shot in the dark.
I could hear that. I mean, I buy that. I still feel like my point stands that he's going to be targeted super early. I get he's a fan favorite, and I'm probably going to, bend to you guys here. For me, if I'm picking my 10 favorite people I want to see back to make the most interesting cast and best season possible, he wouldn't be on my list. But it seems like, I mean, I get why we would, put him on. So for me, I would say no, but if you guys both say yes, then there's nothing I can say.
Send him to Hollywood. I think we put him right in.
I think so too. Now let me ask you guys this, and I know that these are maybe names that could come up later, so you don't have to go fully in depth on them right now. But is there anybody else from the season 45 cast that you have on your radar right now?
No.
On the radar, not lower end of my top 10, but definitely on the radar.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
So that's where I think also like Caleb, I think is like so clearly like the even though we all said Jake, I think Caleb is actually the season 45 guy.
For me, Jake was the only 45 player of the men that I had in my top 10.
Yeah. I just think with him starting off, I mean, this is a great point here from a couple of the C's. You guys said second chance about seeing something different. Caleb was on the Lulu losers. He had no chance. His game would be 100% different. I kind of agree with that. So I'm gonna put him in.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. I think we would see Caleb play a very. I think Caleb is who he is, and I think he's really well suited for this type of environment. And once he hits the merge, he's going to go home early merge, and that's kind of like that's just. I don't think we will see a different. I don't think because if you're Caleb, you're not sitting there like, oh my god, what am I going to do differently? How did I mess up? You're kind of blaming. Oh my god, my starting tribe was like the worst ever. You're blaming that. And then you're blaming this, we split into two groups. I didn't even have time after the shot in the dark. Like you're not coming in and being like, I'm going to change up the way I approach this game. I mean, he probably would. Everyone grows and learns. But for me, it's like Caleb's going to be Caleb.
Mm-hmm. I'll put him on.
I know. I'm losing this battle. It's fine.
St. Cliffo says Austin needs a second chance at love. That is an interesting conversation. Is like Austin, if he didn't play with D, because he was really one vote away from winning because it would have caused a tie. I think Jake said he would have voted for D, but that is always an interesting one of like, how would this person play differently without having the, like their showmans out there, Figgy and Taylor. Hey, nobody's going to say we didn't talk about Figgy yet because next week we could.
Figgy got her second chance.
She played Squid Game. That's true.
Yeah.
She did play Squid Game.
Yeah.
All right. So we already have half of the cast. We already have half of the ballot settled. So now
you say settled now.
No, I'm saying settled. Now is when you really got to start tabling people because we got Ricard and Owen over on the table. And Russell, who are you going to throw out that we are going to either table or just say, no, they're not making it? Who you got?
Yeah, I think it's time for who am I going to throw onto the table? You know what? I'm going to do crazy one. I'm going to go Survivor 42. And I think Survivor has shown that they're willing to go early on in the seasons for things. And they love their good stories. Survivor, San Juan del Sur, Nadia, first one voted out. Natalie goes on to win the game. Shows they can play well. Natalie, Winners at War, first person voted out. First episode voted out, then comes back, Winners at War. At the finale, we have someone early out in Survivor 42. Their brother plays Big Brother and kills it out there, saying, I think this personality could be someone good. We don't have this archetype on our list yet, so it could work. I'm going to go Zach Wertenberger from Survivor 42. Maybe he can find love this time out there.
Will, how do you feel about Zach Wertenberger?
Zach is pretty high on my list, not top 10. I strongly considered him. He's just outside it. Like I'm totally fine with opening up the conversation to Zach and seeing if maybe he can squeeze out one of those last few spots when we really dial it in. I do like a pre-merger. I think a first boot story. Is he he was the first one booted.
He's the first one voted out.
First one, not eliminated, but I still think that story totally plays. And if he finds himself on a new starting tribe and has some perspective on how he played, and maybe he's not seen as this threat. Like everyone's kind of like
his Twitter's hilarious. Like his confessionals will be gold.
His counterpart Romeo went to Final 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. True. The skinny guy alliance.
Yep.
I don't think Zach should make it. I like Zach. I think he's funny on social media. I think he'd probably be a good Big Brother player, just kind of like Cody was, or Corey, right? Corey, right? Because that's who it was. Yeah. I think he'd probably be good at that. I think the biggest problem for him is season 41 has some of the most interesting second chance choices in the pre-merge. And I think if you're going to do pre-mergers, I think they're probably going to pull from there because they're bigger personalities. They probably made more game moves and stuff too. Like Zach really didn't have a chance to make any game moves. I think he gets overshadowed by pretty much everybody in the pre-merge of season 41. Other than that, his own season, he's definitely the choice there. From 43, there's nobody in the pre-merge there that really like jumps out to me. 44, same thing. We already talked about Matthew. He's really the only one because Bruce played again. I don't think Zach is going to have enough to take him over the top of this.
Can we table him and wait till we have like one of those last 1 or 2 picks left and see if we can get him on?
I'm into keeping him alive on the table.
Okay, let's keep him alive. Will, who you got?
Who do we want to go here? I think this is you mentioned earlier, Phil, third placers, and I think this third placer might have as good of an argument as anyone, and that's Xander. And Xander played in the first iteration of the new era. By the time this season rolls around, I think a big reason he lost is that people thought he was too young and too naive, and that he actually made some great game moves. I mean, his whole knowledge is power thing with Liana was huge. He had an idol the whole time. He had like balls of steel to never play it. But then you start thinking, wait, did he just never have to play it because he wasn't a threat at all? Because we keep hearing him say, I'm a threat. I need to keep Ricard around as my shield. Like we kept hearing his strategy, but when he got to the end, he got no votes. So I think it's like a great opportunity for someone who got to the end, got no votes, to like actually learn what they did wrong, come back for a second chance season and play very differently. And he was the narrator on that yellow tribe. I mean, he was like finding, him and Evie, but he was finding all those twists. And I think he was a strong character. I think he probably deserved at least 1 vote for the game he played. So I would like to see Xander.
His cast really did not like him throughout the season. Like, I'm not saying that as like, oh, they actually like actively hate him. I'm saying like on that season, he was pissing them off at every turn. Like everything he was doing, I think he was coming across cocky. He was 21 years old when he played. So like, it is what it is. But I think that hurt him. That being said, I don't know how much different Xander would actually play. I think Xander is a very introspective guy. I think that he is like, I don't even really know how to word this, but he's just not going to change who he is to play Survivor. And because of that, I don't think that there's much else that he can do. I don't think he gets votes. Like,
I totally disagree. I feel like he was 21, and honestly, we see so many 21-year-old like buff, tan bros, and he had so much insight and thought in his confessionals, which was really surprising. And he is introspective, and I think he can actually look and be like, "Why did I get no votes last time? I want to come back and get votes." And I could see him. I could hear this confessional in his like deep, slow voice right now. I think he would absolutely want to mix up at least his social game. And like, as a viewer, it's not like we really saw what he was doing to make anyone angry. Again, I didn't do any of the exit press or like postseason interviews. So like, I don't really know what you're talking about. All I know is that he got 0 votes and there's a reason for that. But that we saw an interesting character who I think could play another really strong game.
Well, JD says it right here. Nobody from 41 likes anybody from 41. I think Xander's such an interesting one, and it depends on where the community's at. So far away from Survivor 41 now. If we did this ballot a year and a half ago, Xander would have the most votes by far, in my opinion. Like, I think even more than Jesse or Omar, Caleb, like the casual Survivor fans. The casual community was obsessed with Xander. They loved everything about him. They was confused why Xander didn't win the game. And if we're looking at what a realistic Survivor Second Chance 2 ballot season looks like, I think that has Xander on the list if we're looking at the casual, like the broader Survivor community. But if we want to be a little more in depth on what the super fans, the online community is looking for, I think there's a way where we don't include Xander on the ballot.
Xander is very interesting from that perspective, Russell, and I'm glad you brought that up. The casuals loved Xander. The internet hated Xander. and ultimately this is a vote from the internet. And I've seen that in our other 2 polls that we've done. There's some people where I'm like, man, my dad would love to see that person.
Wait, why did the internet hate Xander? I'm like so confused.
I think they just thought that he was too arrogant. I think he was too arrogant on that tribe. I don't think they liked kind of the way that he was with Liana, Tiffany, and Evie. I think that bothered a lot of people.
But the casuals, like the Facebook,
he tried lying to them, but like that's playing Survivor. I don't think he was ever like rubbing it in their face. Maybe I misremembered, but like I did the New Era rewatch on Patreon, and I feel like Xander was like this naive guy, and like he was actually the girls were the ones who had the big alliance, and he was the underdog amongst them, and Evie was trying to make it seem like honestly, I felt like Evie was running circles around Xander. So I don't know if he was in a place to be arrogant. I don't know. I feel like, why are people hating so hard? I felt like he was a fun character. Anyway, I didn't know this. I didn't know the online fans didn't like Xander.
I really like Xander, and I think that Xander could be interesting, but like I'm going to push for Owen more than I'm going to push for Xander because I think Owen has more to gain, like more to do playing Survivor a second time than Xander does. I'm okay with tabling Xander. I don't want to throw Xander in there yet. I also think what really drives me away from Xander is, again, I just think season 41 has more interesting choices than Xander. And I want to talk about some of these other choices from 41 and at least get them into the mix of the conversation before we just say, yeah, Xander's in. I could see Xander making it. I really could. I had Xander as like 11/12/10 maybe on my list. So he's close. But I think there's some other names that I think might just be a little bit more compelling to see play a second time. We did a tell-all with Xander. So if you want to go check that out, listen to tell-all with Xander. Xander did it from his car. So that was fun. That was a good episode. And it was like 2 hours long.
Was he driving or was he just sitting in his car? Why did he go to his car?
It was like 2 hours long. I don't know. It was a great episode though. So go check that one out. That's the Xander Hastings tell-all. I just put all the Castaway interviews as their own playlist, like pretty high up on our YouTube. So go check those out. So we'll table Xander. Xander's in there with Ricard, Owen, and Zach right now. I've been talking a lot about the 41 guys, and I want to talk about the 41 guys. There are 3 people whose names kept coming up from this pre-merge phase. First of all, I'm going to say this. I love Danny McRae. I think Danny McRae got his second chance on the challenge. Danny went out and won the challenge. So, like, I don't think he wants anything to do with Survivor. I love him. I'd watch him play again. I think we got a full story from him. I think he played great. And I think he got his second chance playing the challenge, which is a game where if you win, you don't lose, unlike Survivor 41. So I want to preface with that and say that if I was picking somebody from season 41, it would come down to Voce, Brad, and JD. Those are the 3. And maybe only one of them makes the list.
Oh, absolutely.
But those are the 3 people. And I think those are your 3 best pre-mergers other than Matthew, who we already talked about. That's different reasoning. But I think those are your 3 best pre-mergers of men in the new era. And I think at least one of them needs to be on this list.
I agree.
So I'm not going to.
Well, I think you throw Zach in there with these 3 also. I think there's no. I don't know. I don't care that they played on different seasons. I don't know why we need to separate them that way.
Well, I'm more saying that I personally think all 3 of these are better than Zach. I think all 3 of them are better than Zach. I think
I only think one of them is better than Zach.
Who do you think, Brad?
No, JD.
You think JD? So why JD over Brad?
Let's pretend JD is not in the chat.
No, I am not pretending that JD is in the chat watching all these second chance videos, and maybe I wouldn't have put him so high, but he's top of mind now. And when you watch the pre-merge of 41, it's not that bad. It's really fun, and a lot of that because JD is such a big character. And where 41 takes a turn is at the merge, and that's when JD's gone. Maybe if JD had stuck around, we wouldn't have such a lame kind of merge of that season. So I like Brad too. I just don't. I feel like we saw Brad is going to go and be Brad, and like we saw that already. So
there it is. JD, if anyone takes the pre-merge men spot, it should be Brad. That's from
really?
JD himself.
JD,
all of a sudden he's humble.
Yeah, that's another reason why he should be.
He learned that really one from Ricard. He's humble. There it is. But anyway,
and then Voce, like I just didn't. I don't. There's no way I'm gonna be like we got enough from Voce to put him as one of the top 10 new airmen. Like I'm sorry. I think he was a fun little character for like a hot second, but like I just there's no way.
Voce was a name that came up a lot. Voce was a name. I was surprised. Voce's name came up a lot on Twitter and on
I feel like the internet fan base is just like super contrarian, and they're just like, I'm gonna like not like Xander and like love Voce for like very weird reasons so that they have differing opinions.
So,
sorry if I just feel like that's insane to me.
Vochi's name will like continue on in the online Survivor community because, like, I don't know, with the Survivor audition tape people, like when they're making their tapes, the Survivor fans trying to get on the show together, there's like little groups online. Vochi and Carolyn from 44 were in a group together, trying to hype each other up, making their best videos possible.
Mm-hmm.
So every once in a while, Carolyn will hype up Vochi and be like, this guy's amazing. He needs to come back. So I think as long as Carolyn stays relevant, Vochi's name will continue to stay relevant as well. So that's kind of that one. I agree perfectly. Watching Survivor 41, with all the problems it has, we don't need to talk about that today. Let's not get negative.
Mm-hmm.
I was obsessed with the Survivor 41 pre-merge. And when you look at it, back to back to back, David, Brad, JD, all super, super fun characters, all going back. In that pre-merge of 41, so long ago in my 41 recaps, I was obsessed with JD. I was saying this is one of the best casting choices ever. They're also showing him so much, so it's a little bit biased that way. But JD was amazing. And I'm not just saying that because he's in the chat. JD,
but there's a reason they were showing so much of it. It's because it's good. Yeah.
And he did say in here, I just want to throw out there that I had more confessionals than everyone except the final three, Ricard, Shan, and Evie. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. How many more? How long, and JD, you can look this up for us because I don't have it up here. How long did it take JD to get more confessionals than Heather for the entire season? That's what
probably episode 1.
Probably episode 1. I know. I'm curious. Should we table JD and Brad or just table JD? What do you think?
I think we just, I love all three of them, but I think there's only going to be room for JD on the table.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Brad was fun, but I don't think
Brad,
I like Brad too.
No, he's amazing.
I just don't know what new you're going to see from Brad. I mean, like some of these younger guys like are in their developmental years, like JD or Xander, where they're going to be changing perspectives. And I don't know if Brad is going to come and be a different person or a different player.
If you follow JD on Instagram, he's jacked now. So he's been working out, maybe a little challenge beast.
Getting a little Carson over there. There we go. A name we haven't brought up yet. All right. I table JD. Russell, who you got?
Okay. Next up. I'm going to go. I had those three pretty high up for me as well. So I got to skip ahead a little bit here. I don't think this
Let's say, by the way, let's say 2 more each, right? 2 more rounds here. So go ahead, Russell. Start with yours.
Yeah, no worries. I think I'm going to be going Survivor 42 here. This is a player that, again, I'm looking for different archetypes for when in the new era feels all the same sometimes. I'm going for a player who stands out, definitely stands above everyone else, looks bigger than everyone else. I'm going to be going the beast, Jonathan Young. I think it's just because he brings something different to the table than everyone else does, right? This is a guy who he had the strategic guy beside him, Omar, Lindsay. That was a great alliance, Marianne, to help up in the strategic sense. But then Jonathan was able to be there. Literally, Jeff Probst will hype up Boston Rob, carrying his family on his back. Jonathan literally carried his tribe with a ladder through the water. He's a fan favorite, and someone who would, I think, do pretty well in this ballot.
Will, what do you think about Jonathan?
Jonathan's actually a no from me, dog. For me, Jonathan, he got all the way to five? He got 4th place, lost in fire making. He probably wasn't going to get any votes from that jury from what we saw. Incredible to see a challenge beast actually make it that far in the game and make it to fire and have a chance to plead their case to the jury. We rarely see that. I don't know what new we're going to get from Jonathan. As much as I enjoyed him on season 42, I really, really did. It doesn't feel right for a second chance season. I think we're going to get more of the same, and I don't really need to see it. So that's kind of my
Do you think after that first opportunity to play Survivor, now being like, oh, I can't just come in here as the biggest dude. He will be the biggest dude out there. Do you not think he would come in with a little bit more of a strategic mindset to the game?
I mean, I could hear the interview questions and the confessionals maybe pushing the story that way, but realistically, I don't think that's I don't think it would happen, honestly.
Jonathan also had Mike Turner, who like really helped him with that game. I mean, they still have a really good relationship outside of the game. They're always going to like these events and all this stuff together. And I think that was a relationship that wasn't shown much. I think the problem for Jonathan was the closer they got to the end, the more it showed that the strategic game just really wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's coming out. I don't know if it's ever going to be there. I think Jonathan was a phenomenal casting choice. I talked about this, whenever you get a player who it's like, they don't put people who look like Scott Pollard but aren't famous on the show. Like they just don't. And whatever archetype Jonathan fit, whether you hate Jonathan or you love Jonathan, I don't care. I just think Jonathan was an interesting casting choice. And I think it worked out really well for them. We got to watch people actually be able to compete in challenges in that season in a way we hadn't seen in a while. And he was so physical. But I just don't think there's more game there. I think we've seen what we're going to get from Jonathan. I think 4th place is the best he'll ever finish. And I don't know. I think as the game went on, he became a little bit less interesting, even though early on he was phenomenal. So, yeah. Russell's leaving. Oh, wait, here we go. Justice for Jonathan. Is that what we're getting? I think we're going to get justice for Jonathan. But I agree with you, Will. I think Jonathan kind of had his moment. And Russell just loves putting 4th placers on that aren't Jesse. That's what the problem is. So I'm not even going to table Jonathan. I think Jonathan's a no.
Yeah, that's a no for me, dog.
And sorry, guys, I have to go, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'll pass it on to you, Will.
Go ahead, Will. You're up, man.
All right. Well, let's see. We're being tough on each other, which I like.
Also, we only have 5 names on the list and only 5 names on the table, and we only have 5 names we're bringing up anymore. So what do you got?
No. I mean, we're going through it. I think we have to talk about Sammy. I think Sammy was like such a big character on 43. I liked how hard he was playing. I loved his confessionals. That yellow tribe to me is like one of the funniest starting tribes in the history of the show with all the shenanigans going on over there. So I don't know if I need to make more of a case. I don't know. Again, I'm coming in not knowing what the internet or how people took. You guys might say everyone hated Sammy. And I'd be like, what? So I don't know. You guys tell me. I think Sammy, especially he played when he was 19. He's going to have some more age on him. Like I've been saying, maybe some of these younger players that come back 3 or 4 years later are going to have a different perspective, not only on the game, but life in general, as like growing as a human being. So I am kind of in for some of these younger players, and Sammy to me fits the bill as someone who is just a really fun character. Doesn't feel the same as anyone else at all. So yeah,
I'd probably put Sammy over Xander. I think Sammy has more upside than Xander going into a second chances type season. That being said, I think there's gonna be a lot of people from 43 coming down the pipe here as we keep going. At least I know I'm bringing up at least one more, and I know the chat's gonna kill us if we don't bring up Cody.
No, I have 2 more.
Yeah,
to bring up from 43.
Yeah,
which is
so
fine.
I think 43 is gonna have a lot of people. Sammy's good though. Like I think Sammy is a solid choice. Kind of falls into that same boat as Owen. Got more aggressive than Owen, which is probably what got him voted out earlier and why Owen was able to make its final 3. But Owen, Sammy, and Gabler were a trio that Janine and Ellie just did not see coming. They thought that they had Sammy and they thought they had Sammy and they thought they had Owen and they didn't. And I think that the way that the season played out, I think Sammy definitely did learn a lot. I think Sammy would be great on TV the second time. I hope Sammy still has his finances in order, because the episode when Kelly went home, he said if Kelly went home, he's so confident that that's not going to happen that he would bet on the Arizona Cardinals to win the Super Bowl. So I hope that he's still okay. He did that on our podcast, so go check that out. I'm not kidding. He actually said he was going to bet on the Cardinals to win. But I think Sammy's a good choice. I think we table him. I think he's somebody who can come up in the conversation later, and we can make a little bit more of a compelling pitch for him if the time comes. You good with that, Will?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to bring this person up now because I don't want this to be the last person that gets brought up, because I feel like that's a really uneventful way to get through this, but I'm going to say Carson. I know that people are going to say Carson, like the fans love Carson. Like Carson is the fan favorite probably from this new era. Yeah. Does that shock you, Will?
That shocks me.
How does that shock you?
I just feel like on that season, there are so many other big personalities, and that Carson was very one note to me. Like he 3D printed the puzzles. He was nerdy, strategic, and like I didn't get much depth from him. And you have Jam and Carolyn, like also.
I think him being lumped in with those two, though, that's why people love Carson even more. Like if Carolyn's going to get the votes, if Carolyn's going to get the votes to get on a second chance this season, Carson's going to get the votes to get on a second chance this season. Like it's just that's how that Tika 3 is probably one of the most popular alliances in the history of the show.
Yeah, it was boring alliance. I mean, no one challenged them. Everyone was dumb. They just let them walk to the end. That's my problem with that season in general. Is like it felt very predictable. It's like, okay.
See, and Bruce is in the chat now. So Bruce, who's exclaiming Tika here, had Bruce not hit his head, maybe the Tika 3 would have looked a little bit different. Maybe Tika Bruce 4 would have been in there. Maybe it would have been the Tika 4. Maybe it would have been the Tika 3 of Helen, Sarah, and Bruce. I mean, I don't know.
That'd be crazy.
Could have seen it. So I think the thing is with somebody like Carson, right? Carson kind of has the woo thing going for him, where like when woo got put onto the second chances ballot, it was like, okay, people like he made the cast with all those other big time. I think Carson is front of mind, and I think people just really, really, really love Carson. Now, Carson has his haters too. I know with him doing the puzzle thing that he's doing right now, that's frustrating a lot of people in the community, especially with how much he's promoting it. Look, I believe you live in America. Like, try to make your money the way you can make your money. Like, what do you want me to do about it? But it's like, I get why that would piss some people off. I don't think it's a big deal. I think Carson's a nice guy. I think he's a fun character. But ultimately, I'd table him and see what happens. I just wanted to bring his name up because if we didn't bring his name up, if we dismiss Carson, I think that people are going to be very, very, very pissed off. And Ferd over here just said that was the most Will take so far. So there you go.
What? I'm just shocked that he was such a fan favorite. Like I get he made it far and he was in the big.
People
alliance.
love Carson. People love Carson.
I'm just like it's just so surprising to me because I found him to be like, yo, yeah, he's like the nerdy puzzle guy. Cool. Jim and Carolyn are like way bigger characters. Yeah, for me, I have Carson like on my bottom, like I don't know, like 5 of New Era men and overall. Like I just don't need to see him play again. Especially if we're looking at like these charming strategists. I just feel like our ballot is we have Omar, we have Ricard, we have Jesse. Like I don't know. It feels like it's just a lot of strategy.
I want to get Carson on this podcast. Just sit here and just look you in the eye and say, "Well, what did I do to hurt you? Like, what did I do?
He didn't do anything to hurt. I don't dislike Carson in any way, but I just don't think he would be one of my top. He's definitely not a top choice for me, and I'm surprised that he would be a top choice for so many people.
Yeah. I think it'd be huge. Like if Russell went and made a video of like the top 10 things Carson did, I bet you it'd be one of his highest rated videos.
Yep.
There you go. I need to watch that clearly.
Yeah. I also think like him with the puzzles annoyed a lot of people like on the show, how he had 3D printed all the puzzles. So he kind of knew what was coming and he kind of broke the challenges. I think that frustrated a lot of people, but I also think that he's a game changer because in season 45, they really didn't do any puzzles and they didn't do stuff like that. I'd be interested to see how would Carson play without the puzzles and without the other members of the Tika 3. I would love to see how he do that. And you were just talking about younger people as they get older. I think Carson, like, what did he learn? Now, granted, Carson was the most popular out of all the younger people we've mentioned so far, so maybe he didn't learn anything.
But I think I feel like Carson would come in and be Carson, which is fine. To me, I don't find it. And honestly, the puzzle thing did not make me mad. That's like using your brain and thinking ahead and like.
Personally, I love the puzzle thing. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
no, I hated the production for that. That made me so mad.
Don't get mad at like Carson for that. Like. So, yeah, I don't know. This was like an absolute.
Russell, is Carson a no from you? Because you could kill this right now because it's clearly a no from Will.
I think Carson needs to be the table.
Okay.
Yeah, let's table him.
And Russell just saved the merit of this podcast. So thank you, Russell, for everything you're doing here. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Russell's channel, do all of those fun things. And just remember, like, Will is just getting back into the swing of it, guys. It's okay. All right, last time through. Russell, who you got? I'm
going to cheat, and I'm going to throw out 2 names. So I'm just breaking the rules. I'm a game changer. Well, I think one of these 2 people need to be on. I'm fine with having crazy strategists. I love it with the strategies where Survivor is heading. I think one of the major big issues with Survivor Cambodia, the original second chance, was people would say a little too game body, a little too strategic heavy on that season. And I think we have a lot of great minds for the game on the table and on the ballot already. So I'm going to throw out 2 names. You guys shut down Jonathan, which is okay. I'm going to throw out 2 names who I don't think are the best strategically, but I think are adding fun elements to the game. We're going to go Survivor 43 with Cody. And I think Cody is a player that's crazy. We haven't even brought up yet. Cody was fan favorite on. He's just living out there. I think
Thank God. Okay, so the fans got something right. Good.
I think Cody does have a little bit of a strategic mind for the game, a little bit. I think Jesse was the forefront for that for sure. Just seeing him manipulate, like the bead idol, using the hat, hanging out, living. I think Cody is a perfect player to add to a season to help reduce the amount of game bodiness that we'll have. Just have fun out there. So Cody's one that I think we should give the chance to. And then Survivor 45 from post-game press. I heard he hid like 10 idols, 10 fake idols out there early on in the game, being chaos, like just doing ninja moves everywhere. I got Sifu as well. So I think Sifu is great TV. And then Cody, yeah.
I will say this right off the bat. Cody, I'll table him. Sifu is an absolute no from me, dog. Like, there is no way Sifu is making Sifu was posing going down the challenges. He took the game so unseriously. And that's fine. You don't have to take the game seriously. I'm not going to say respect Survivor. I don't care about that. It's just like Sifu was out there as like trying to be coach. And he's not coach. Okay, I'm not in on Sifu. I'm out on Sifu.
I actually liked Sifu on the show. We just didn't get to see enough of him. And if he was hiding 10 fake idols, like why didn't we see that?
Why didn't we see
the show clearly didn't like what he was giving them, and maybe he was putting it on a little too thick. I don't know. I actually enjoyed him as just like an off the wall, kind of like what you're saying, a different type of character for the show. But we only got 10 spots here, Russell. So that's going to be a no for me. Also,
I also think Sifu, like, when he realized he was going home, all of a sudden he turned off whatever he had turned on. And I think Sifu, I think you're right. Well, I think he was just so over the top. I think he was playing it up a lot. And I think like casting or whatever was production out on the island was seeing that and saying, we're not going to give many confessionals to this guy because he is playing it up so much. Like, it didn't feel authentic. And I think it was too transparent because he didn't get many confessionals. Maybe he would learn from that. But Sifu's a no for me. What about you, Will, with Cody? Jesse Lopez is here. He says if Cody doesn't get a second chance, we riot. What do you say?
I said I'm 100% in on Cody, and I actually think there is. You said earlier, Phil, that Cody could not win. It's fine. He's going to come in. He won't be. I think Cody can win, and I think your point was that people won't let him get to the end. But with the way Survivor's shaken up, it's like, hey, you can play an idol at Final Five, then you're in fire making, and there you go. So I think getting to the end, like, we can't rule that out for literally anyone. We already mentioned all the other players that have come in. They might be more strategic threats like Tony and Parv, like coming in with the number 1 target on their back and making it. But this is all to say that Cody absolutely needs to be on the season. And I do think Cody has like this big question. Can he make the move that Jesse made on him? Now, not the exact move with knowledge and power and everything, but can he be cutthroat? Can he take that next step? I think he was more strategically inclined than the show led us to believe. You brought up the beats, Russell. It's a great, like, he was very social, very strategic. He and Jesse would always get together and plot and scheme. And yeah, was Jesse kind of the front runner on that? Sure. But I think there are many strategic bones in Cody's body, and that if he comes back, it's like, how far is he going to dial that up, and how will he turn on his closest allies? So I am fully in on seeing Cody play again.
Nice. Yeah, Cody makes it. Cody's going to Hollywood. I really love Cody. When I say Cody couldn't win, I think it's just more if people aren't going to let him get to the final 3. I think he gets the votes in almost any situation. But Will, man, if this isn't your Fabio dream of a second Fabio win, I don't know what is. And Cody's obviously a lot smarter than Fabio was. I think even in the first season, we saw a lot more in just like emotional intelligence. But we have Survivor Archivist here who brings up a good point. He says Cody had one of the best social games of the new era without the Caleb downside of being too obvious. I think Cody was just, I mean, if Jesse doesn't make that move on Cody very well could win that season.
Oh, of course. That's why Jesse had to do it. And it's one of the best moves. Like it's almost like what, not as heavy, but like with D later, like not telling Austin. I mean, we saw very clearly, like very explicitly, Dee did this and she won. Austin didn't do that and he lost. And like it's a little bit similar where it's like Jesse pulled the move first. He almost won. A lot of people think he should have won, and he's the best player of the new era. And Cody got ousted because he couldn't take that leap. So I want to see them both back.
So Cody's on there. All right,
Boom.
Cody's made the ballot. So we have 4 spots left. Will, who are the last names because Russell broke it that you're throwing out there?
Okay. I mean, I have a couple people that are in my top 10 that we have yet to mention, but
throw out whoever's in your top 10 that we didn't mention yet. Just throw them out because we might as well have the discussion at this point. We're down to it here, so just throw out whoever you have.
I have James from season 43. I love
James
43. I think James is like, I think he's like a great option for second chance. Like he got far enough in the game where we got to see him, but he went out in the split thing that they do, like when he in the group and that
total blindside too. He was so pissed.
That kind of screws him over there. That kind of always happens when the group is just completely random and you have no influence on who you're actually going to tribal council with. You can't really plan ahead. So I think James would be perfect. I think he really is a game player, but he comes off like he's so relaxed, he's so chill. And
that was the Noelle steal a vote. She stole Owen's vote and they voted.
I mean, even I haven't gotten to this in the rewatch yet, so I'm coming up on this. But for me, I think James. And again, I don't really care if we have a lot of players from one season and not a lot from another. It doesn't bother me. Like again, we had 4 Cagayan players and like 3 San Juan del Sur players on the original second chance, and they had 30 seasons to choose from. So
we had 2 from Australia.
I'm just putting out the best people as I see them. So
yeah. All right, who else you got? Is James the only one you want to throw out, or you got anybody else you want to throw in there?
I also think there is my list. Who? Oh yeah, I don't know if we haven't talked. Like, we could have talked about this with Xander kind of, but like Deshaun also, like he got to the final 3, and like I think he can maybe come back and play a different game. And I think some of these losing finalists are great to have again thematically for a second chance season. And Deshaun played a really strong game. Like I think Erica just like outdid him a little bit at the end. He fell to the bottom, and he was playing really hard. I think that pissed some people off when he was like bringing up lies at tribal council, and he was really trying to stir the pot any way he could. But his social game we saw was pretty good. I know he and Shan got into a couple fights, but I would like to see Deshaun play again. So, okay,
I like Deshaun. Deshaun's a good name, and he lost it kind of towards the end. People felt like he was kind of like more. Yeah,
he kind of unraveled, and that's something that you can like. He made mistakes that you can go and fix.
Yeah.
So,
any other names?
Not that we're in my top. I mean, for Survivor, this was 44. Like I like Danny a lot. I don't think he's going to make it. I just kind of want to bring up Danny 44.
I like Danny.
He was just a really fun character, and there's not going to be room for him, I don't think, unless you guys also really like him.
If we put Danny Massa on this list and don't put Carson, we will have 4 subscribers by the end of this video. And I love Danny. Danny, I have higher on my list than I have Carson.
Same.
But I think Danny is just one of those people. Danny's one of those people who, during that season, the Tika 3 outshined everybody. And Danny,
wouldn't that be great? Like, see Danny playing a season without the Tika 3?
I just don't think there's enough excitement around him. I think if we were going to take anybody from the Soka tribe, they would want Matt Blankenship. That's who most people would want, I think, would be Matt Blankenship. Yeah. But I don't think Matt makes the cut either. So,
no.
I like Danny, though. I think Danny's an interesting one. I don't think we even table him though.
It's fine. I just wanted. I don't like.
I'm a big fan of him.
Everyone in my top 12 has now been at least mentioned.
Okay.
So,
all right. So let me just throw. So then I'm just gonna kind of play cleanup here and just throw out some names that like we haven't really talked about. A big one that's come up in the chat here. Should Mike Turner be tabled, or do we feel like we saw everything we're gonna see from Mike Turner?
That's a tough one. He's actually 11. I didn't mention him, but that's a tough one. I do feel like Mike made a very big mistake, and his mistake wasn't really his gameplay. It was more his final tribal council speech, and that he could not own his game.
He pulled a coach.
He tried to do this honor integrity thing when people are, especially these days in Modern Survivor, it's like people want to say that you lied to them to their face and outplayed you. Like that's okay. That's what people want. And he could not own up to any of the moves that he made. And it's like, if anyone came after me, I would only lie to them. If they lied to me, blah, blah. He just had to own it. And is that a worthy enough of a different way to play? Again, I don't think it was the way he played. It's literally just a mistake at Final Tribal. So I don't know if we can go in and fix that through the first 12 episodes of the season. So I don't know. I imagine he was a pretty popular player. I could be wrong. I'm so far off on like gauging what the fans think about these players. So you guys tell me. I think Mike would make a lot of sense to put on here, but I don't know.
I think Mike should be tabled and we should discuss him. Mike was really high on my list, but then I said, have we seen Mike do everything he's going to do? He's an older guy who is really out there for the experience, him talking to Omar, him talking to Jonathan, him talking to Marianne. We got to see him kind of experience relationships with the people he doesn't generally talk to. I thought that was really like inspiring and cool. But then I'm also like, is that it? Is that all there is? Is that all there is to it? Do we need to see Mike Turner again? Mike Turner was in my top 10. He was the one that I had said he's in my top 10, but now I'm having second thoughts about it. That's the guy. So I think maybe we table him. And then there's two more names that I think we should bring up. One, just because we didn't bring him up at all. I don't think he'd make the cut, but I do think people would be a little curious why we didn't bring him up. Is High. Anything on High on why we wouldn't bring him up? Because I don't feel like he was on any of our radars.
There's better versions. We got better.
I feel like we have the strategic snarkiness, like enough of it already.
Okay, that's fair. And then who's the other name that I definitely wanted to bring up? We did everybody there. I already talked about Danny McRae. There was one other person that I just
Romeo.
I do think Romeo, it could be worth a discussion. I mean, but if we're going to be putting all the third place men, I think Romeo's probably at the bottom of that list.
Yeah.
So
I don't think we need to really.
Yeah, I think that eliminates him right away. No, there was literally one other player, and I can't remember who it was.
Well, Austin Drew.
Oh, Drew. Thank you. That's what I was in the problem of going to 42. What about Drew?
Nasir as well afterwards.
Well, JD says Nasir. I don't think Nasir gets the votes if we put him up here. I think that's kind of like just taking up a spot for the sake of taking up a spot. I do like Nasir. I think he was an interesting casting choice, but I think he's a one-timer. I think Drew is somebody, I know that he is probably the most polarizing character of the new era. But man, I thought Drew like really brought it. And he like played so strategically. He tried to play really socially. It didn't work out for him. If you were to ask me between Drew and Austin, I really like Austin. And I think Austin has a really good built-in storyline. Like imagine Austin versus Dom. Like if they were both on this season, they both have that kind of feeling of I had to make one more relationship and I win this game. And I didn't do that. And that's why I lost. And so Austin, I think, is a really good choice too. But I think Drew, like, JD says it here. You can tell that Jeff just adores Drew. He does. And I think, honestly, like one of the more interesting archetypes of that nerdy guy, he was actually a fun version of that. So Drew is the one that I would absolutely bring up here. And
I'd rather see Zach than Drew as the nerd. Like
really
come back.
That's interesting.
That's a bold take.
I'm sorry. That's how I feel. I don't know what to say. I think Zach, we would get something we haven't seen before. I think we kind of saw Drew's game, honestly.
Yeah. I think I disagree with that a little bit, just because I feel like after watching the season live, the community's thoughts, Drew really took a hit from the community's, I don't want to say hate. Like whenever we're talking about Survivor players, chat, you got to remember, if I'm talking negative about someone, I'm talking negative about what they're doing on the show, the gameplay wise. I'm sure all these people are amazing human beings outside the show. Drew took a really big hit from the community not really liking him in his confessionals and things like that. So I don't know if he would come back, but number two, if he would come back, I think we would get day 26 or whatever he was voted out at. I think we would get endgame Drew at the very start of the game. Not as snarky, more social, trying to make those connections early on. And without Austin, it could be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Will, where would you stand on Austin versus Drew?
I think it's a tough one. I got them both just not that high up, to be honest.
Okay. I think also the fact of like recency bias is almost hurting them right now because we haven't had time to move away from them and see like a worse version of either of them. I do think they're both interesting guys that could be asked back for this type of thing. But I do think that we're almost nostalgic for the earlier versions of these two types of players. And that's kind of what's hurting them because we just saw them play. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it could be that. Like we just watched season 45, so I'm not like dying to see Drew and Austin where it's like, oh, what? But I don't know. I feel differently about like I really want to see Jake play again. So I don't. Maybe that's not fair to say. if I had to pick between the two, I would probably go Drew over Austin. I think Drew is like you guys said, is a very good version of the nerd archetype that he doesn't feel like the same. Like I'd way rather see Drew over Carson. Let me put it that way. I mean, if we gotta go with the,
I'll add him to the table then.
This is a big table, boys.
I mean, I think out of the nerd archetypes, who I think we would get something different. I would just I think Zach would be really, really funny as to bring back first boot.
I think so too.
I think it just makes more sense for second chance. I think Carson and Drew played it full games, and they don't necessarily deserve a second chance. So,
and Austin definitely played a full game. I mean, Austin is that your classic runner up of like did everything you could, just got duped on one move, and that was really all there was to it. Yeah. All right, let's jump into this. We have 4 spots left. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If we count Drew, we have 11. It doesn't seem like Drew's making the list, but you did say over Carson, so I'm going to keep him on here.
And someone just beeped their microphone. It sounded like an
Yeah,
so,
I heard that. So
yeah,
here's the 11 names: Ricard, Owen, Zach, Xander, JD, Sammy, Carson, James, Deshaun, Mike, and Drew. We have 4 spots available. Anybody want to take a first stab here at?
Are we killing them?
I don't know. See, this is harder with the killing. The killing was so fun with the other one. We also had 41 names that we needed to get down to 10. Here we have 11. We need to get to 4.
Okay.
Is there anybody?
We can do 1 round of killing.
Let's do 1 round of killing.
Want to do 1 round of killing? Will's going to kill Carson, though.
Carson.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like he's just going to take out Carson. So that's why I don't know if we do killing. I almost think we need.
Yeah, but you can play your shield on him.
How many shields in killing do we
got? The traders. Wait, yeah. How many shields were in?
No, you can play a shield as many times as you want, but the other person who didn't nominate or who didn't kill the person needs to play the shield. So if I want to kill Carson, you guys can both play your shield, and that will save Carson. It won't move him onto the ballot, but it will put him onto the chair.
Onto the chair. Okay, so we're trying to get. All right. Well, you know what? Do a round of killing then. Will, you kill Carson? Okay. I say don't kill Carson. Russell, what do you say?
Don't kill Carson.
Okay. So
Will, knew that was gonna happen. Carson's
on the chair. So that was a literal waste of a minute of everybody's life. I'll go next. I don't want to kill him, but I got to. I'm gonna kill Sammy. I think Sammy doesn't make the cut for me out of this group.
I have no more shields, right?
No, you can use as many as you want.
Can use as many as you
We're
want.
literally just going to push everybody over to the chair.
I have to shield it also.
Yeah, you both just have to be in agreement.
I'm okay with no Sammy.
You're okay with no Sammy, so that's it. Sammy's done, Will.
Yeah.
Are you guys serious? Did we watch the same show?
Sammy's done.
He's not 19 anymore. He won't get on the show.
Why didn't you kill Xander first? Because I had Sammy over Xander. So
you know what? I was going to, but you've made such a pitch for Xander and Zach that I want them to be the easy eliminations at the end to get my guys on. That's all I'm trying to do.
I'm gonna be killing Deshaun.
Deshaun's tough. Will, what do you think? I didn't have Deshaun on my list, so this is literally up to you, Will. What do you think? Convince me why I should keep Deshaun.
Oh, I don't know anymore.
Okay, that's a no. So you're going to have Deshaun on. All right, so Deshaun's done.
Yep, Deshaun's done, and Sammy's done.
I just want to say this right now. So Deshaun and Sammy are done. Will, you tried to kill Carson. Carson is unkillable.
I was 0 for 3 in that.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
Can I kill Caleb, or is he already on the ballot?
Caleb is on the ballot. You have Ricard, Owen, Zach, Xander, JD, James, Mike, and Drew. There's 8 people left. We got 4 spots.
Let me. I'll probably get pushback. I'm gonna kill Ricard.
Yeah, I think that's crazy. We don't even have anybody from season 41 on this yet.
I'm gonna have to shield him, dude.
Yeah, Ricard moves to the chair.
All right.
I'm up. I'll kill Drew because I think we all kind of were in agreement that Drew was like.
I thought Drew was already dead.
No, he's dead.
Drew's dead now.
I just made that an easy one. All right, cool. Okay. So Drew's done. Yeah. All right.
I'm gonna kill. Ooh, we're getting tough here. I'm gonna get a lot of pushback.
Maybe we don't have to kill here. If you don't want to kill, but okay, go ahead, kill. Go ahead.
I want to kill. Okay. I want to try and kill. I think, Phil, you're going to push back on this. Will, we'll see what you want. Will, how do you feel about killing Owen?
I feel good about killing Owen.
So here's the names we have left. Can I just say the names we have left before we do this officially?
Yeah, go for it.
Owen, Zach, Xander, James, Mike Turner, Carson, Ricard, and we got 4 spots.
Yep.
Do we really think that Owen is the weakest of those 7? because I don't agree with that at all. And I think that there's a lot more game to be played from Owen. If those are the 7 names that are still left,
I just don't know how
Owen might be the 3rd most popular.
I just don't know how you could watch that season and think Owen's a more entertaining character than Sammy. Like, I don't know.
I didn't say he was more entertaining. I just think that he's a better choice for second chances.
Are we trying to make the most entertaining show?
I don't know. I mean, they put Thailand on my screen. I don't really know, honestly.
I mean, that's my goal is like, I want to bring back like the best, most entertaining cast members that are also.
How do you define entertainment? Because like
I think Sammy played really hard and was entertaining while doing that. You want to have someone who's actually attempting to win the game and has a chance to win, and also really fun while doing it. They make it fun to watch. I think Sammy was better at that than Owen was.
So you want to kill Owen because you're mad we killed Sammy?
No, I just think from the starting point, like if I already think that Owen isn't as good as Sammy and Sammy got killed, then like why would I vote for Owen to get in?
Well, because of the
names
I just said, you really don't want Carson in. You've already said that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would kill Owen. Russell was the one who killed him. I didn't even bring it up.
I just think it's crazy with the names that are left. But if you guys,
I think you guys are already crazy for killing Sammy. We can both think the other 2 are crazy. Do we have examples of that?
All right.
So my thing was before, Phil, at the very, very start of the stream, I thought it's weird to have both Jake and Owen, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my thing at the start. But Will's going to be fighting against Carson. I'll be fighting a little bit against Owen. I'm sure there's going to be more thoughts there. Let's not kill Owen. I mean, that's fine. Let's continue the conversation there. But we have only a couple spots left. Because I know you really want Owen.
Well, here's my thing. If I was going to do this right now, because I think James is also a great choice between James and Owen. I think right now, if I was looking at this group of 7 that we have left, the names that I would personally pick would be Carson, Ricard, Owen, and JD. Those would be the 4 names that I would pick out of the 7 that are remaining. And I did just put the 7 in the private chat, so it's over there. Those would be the 4 names that I would pick out of that group. I'm not saying all 4 of my people need to get in, but those are the 4 names that I like the most out of that group.
Say those 4 again.
It was Owen, JD, Carson, and Ricard. So that would be killing Mike Turner, killing James, and killing Zach.
I only overlap with you on one of those.
So we literally all right. So we have now named all 7 people between the 2 of us, and now we're just leaving it up to Russell. So
I mean, I do have JD as one of my 4, and JD is one of your 4.
Russell, what do you think about JD? Should we put JD on the ballot?
JD, if you're still on here, guess what? You're going to Hollywood.
All right. So JD right now is the only representation from season 41. But Omar is also the only representation from season 42, and Matthew is the only representation from 44. So it's not that crazy. I just wanted to more say that out loud. So we finally have somebody from every season. JD's on. All right. So JD's it.
I'll say right here, Ricard has to be on.
I agree with you. At this point, I think Ricard has to be on.
So you're going to put both Ricard and Carson on.
I didn't say that yet.
I didn't say that yet either.
Okay.
I said Ricard has to be on.
All right, let's put Ricard on. I'm okay with that.
And I know I was being kind of a dick earlier with Ricard, but I do think Ricard is the type of villain. When we're looking at this group, he's like more of a pure villain than Jesse and Omar, which is a good thing for Survivor. So I'd put
True. I'm in. I'm with that. I can get behind that.
Okay, so we have 2 spots left. We have Carson, Owen, Zach, Xander, James Jones, and Mike Turner. How do we have still 6 people? Carson, Owen, Zach, Xander, James, and Mike. All right, somehow we still have 6. I can't.
Oh, because you didn't count Xander originally.
Oh, that's what it was?
Yeah, so you already axed him in your mind.
Oops, Xander's in the chat again. All right. Well, so we got to get 2 more spots.
Yep.
I'm gonna sit here in silence.
I mean, I feel like Russell and I already killed Owen, so I don't know.
All right, Owen's dead. I did the best I could. He's out.
Owen's out.
Zach should not be on this. I know you guys think it's funny. We already have JD. That's a pre-merger.
It'd be so funny.
Zach should not.
I don't think it's that funny. I actually think
you literally earlier said this is funny. I'm gonna play the clip back.
No, I'm not doing it as like trying to get laughs, though. I actually think he's a funny
I'm just here for the
character, and I think it would actually be funny if he was on the show because I think he's a fun character, and we got more from him in one episode than we get from a lot of people in their first boot if they're the first boot. But I'm okay with killing him.
Okay,
that was nice.
It seems like Russell folded and said he was doing it for a bit. I wasn't doing it for a bit.
I was doing it for a bit. I was so happy when you didn't shut it down.
No, I actually, he was on my top 10 of who if I was going to make my top 10 of New Era men, he would have been on.
Will, you gotta learn. I'm doing everything here for the bits. I'm just here for a good time.
We should have maybe.
I'm all honest, all integrity. I'm like,
we
Mike,
maybe should post our top 10s, like each of us, what we actually would have put, so that we can see how many people's like players got on to see who really is the most obnoxious on this podcast. So what does that mean? We still have 2 spots. We got Xander, Carson, James, and Mike.
I think Mike 42 would be pretty interesting looking at the other people we have here.
I think Mike makes sense here. I'm good with putting Mike on.
Mike Turner.
That feels good. That feels right.
I'm in.
Yeah, we're all on the same page here. Look at us.
I know. Well, only because you guys killed Owen. So now I'm just like, whatever. I've been defeated. All right. So Mike's in. So we got James Jones, Xander, Carson. I know what the fans want. That is for sure. And I know what Will doesn't want. And those are the same things. I'm fine with letting Will be the fall guy. I'm all about that. You know, if you're going to commit a crime, have somebody who's
it's one of you is the fall guys. I've made my opinion very clear. And like, I'm not wavering at all. You guys are the ones who are pandering. And if one of you does end up flipping on Carson, then you end up being the fall guy.
Rank the 3 here, Will. If you were ranking these 3 of James, Xander, and Carson, what's your 1, 2, 3?
I would do Xander, James, and Carson.
Xander, James, and Carson. Russell, what would you do?
This one gets really tough.
Especially we didn't put Sammy on. I feel like Sammy and Xander are like similar archetypes, and we already killed Sammy.
So maybe we should put Sammy on instead of Xander.
I said that.
Sammy's not 19 anymore. It doesn't make sense.
Can we bring somebody back from the dead?
Wait, why? What is this thing you keep saying about Sammy being 19? Why does that even matter?
It's a bit.
That was that was also kind of your speech, wasn't it? That he was like young. I don't know.
No, it was like he's gotten older since he was only 19. Like he's gotten, I guess everyone.
Russell, rank your 3.
So I'm biased because James. I've met James. He's a fan of the channel. So James is super sick. So he's gonna be number 1. I'm gonna have. Either way you go, the community's pissed off. I'm gonna go James. Then I'm going to go Carson. Then I'll go Xander.
So here, I'm going to make this so that we literally don't learn anything. I would go Carson. I would go Carson, Xander, James.
So we're all different.
So they all tied.
So we all tied. So we did nothing. So by the process, we have to do kind of what the trust does, Will, right? Where like if all of them tie, they all survive, but instead we'll go the opposite way where they all tied. So now we bring back the last person. So now Owen's on.
I don't think that's how it works.
I didn't just finagle a way to get Owen in. Look,
let's look to the chat. What is the chat? Okay, I just see Survivor Archivist. We have Xander 1, James, then Carson. That's my one.
All right, chat.
I just randomly read that one.
Xander, Carson, James. We've talked a little bit about Sammy and Owen. 5 people. Who do you want? We'll bring them back from the dead if we need to.
You guys better start commenting because we got about 5 seconds.
We have Yay posted. We need Xander. So that's
okay. What about Abraham? What about Sean?
I like Survivor Archivist says if it's rocks. If there's a tie, then Eric Abraham goes on. So Abraham's in. JD says Xander. We got 2 Xanders, but JD's a little playing favorites there. Benjamin Motes goes Carson, Sammy, James, Xander.
Ooh, yeah, JD's trying to pregame here. So
I'm seeing the most first place votes for Xander here.
There's a Carson.
3 Carsons just came in.
Right in a row. I like this. James, then Sammy. Carson, dude, it should be easy.
I like this. Ask Alexa. That's a good one.
Yeah, can we call a friend?
I don't know. Do you guys think Alexa's up? It's 11:28 and she works a very regular job. I don't know if she's going to be awake.
Oh, that would be
Sawyer,
great.
Carson, Sammy, James, Xander. Let's see if she answers.
I like it. Let's see.
I don't know. Yeah. Can I call Alexa at 11:30 at night?
Give her a call.
I
like this.
She's got to have her phone on mute, right? Here, I'll mute myself in case she does answer and she's pissed off.
Okay.
While
we're doing this, guys.
You guys talk.
The chat is going to love that. Are you kidding me?
It's amazing, everyone. 95 people in here. We're all just chatting Survivor at 11:30 p.m. on a Monday night. If you haven't yet, guys, like the video. Really helps out. Make sure you subscribe to the specialists. They're doing amazing content over here. And then if you're feeling other weird Survivor content, I do casual stuff over there on Russell Muscle TV. And Jeff Probst right here is excited for the new season. Will, on your New Era rewatch, what's been your favorite so far?
I'm actually like halfway through 43 at this point, and it's so to me it's like leagues above any other season of the New Era. I know people don't like it because they have an opinion on Gabler maybe, but like it doesn't, like Gabriel winning doesn't affect my enjoyment of like episode 3 or 4 of the show. Like I just like what is the most fun week to week.
Yeah.
And 43 like is so far in front in terms of my favorite New Era season. And that's why I nominated like half that, like pretty much every new 43 man is like has been brought up here. So
no
nothing
go,
from
Phil.
Alexa. I got nothing because it's 11:30 at night and she's an adult. It seems like people are going Xander or Carson. And if that's going to be the case, out of those,
Xander.
I would go Xander over Carson. You guys, I've already made my mind clear. So James is gone because the chat is not giving James the love. So it is between, we can at least eliminate that.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, now we all have to pick our favorite out of those two. And it should be
I'd go Carson.
You go Carson. So it's down to Russell if it's going to be Xander.
Why does it have to go down to me?
Because I already voted Xander.
I already voted Xander and he already voted Carson. So you have all the power here.
You know what? I do have all the power, and I've been waiting my whole life for this moment. And with great power comes great responsibility. And I'm going Xander.
Whoa, you sided with Will.
Yeah,
that was such a setup.
He set it up. I thought he was going to do the easy thing.
No.
I love it.
Will, we're doing it.
Oh my God, we just put Xander on instead of Owen or Carson or James. Oh, and I like Xander, but man, that's a freezing cold takes exposed, man. That's brutal. I don't like that. Oh, all right. Xander Hastings has made the cut. After all of that, this is literally like Christie voting for Jenna Maraska at the end, where you finally have the chance to say F you to the wicked stepsister. And then you go ahead and vote for her to win. Like you just gave Will the power when you finally could have told Will to shove it and get out of here. I can't believe what I just heard.
Yeah. From day one to now, me and Will have grown. It's about the friends we make along the way. And I'm ready to, me and Will team up on Phil for episode 4.
You know what? Actually, we didn't talk about this at all this episode, which we actually brought up a bunch on when we did the previous ones, especially the old school. Is would they play again, or can they realistically play again? And I think
every one of these people would play again.
And does production want them back? I think after the 3D printing thing, I think Carson is out with production. I think he's out. So I think we made the right choice here in terms of what would actually happen. So
agree or disagree. I can't believe it.
I mean, we have Survivor archivist here. Archivist. That's a weird word. He says banger because Carson would have gotten the votes, so the vote is much more interesting without him. So
I agree on that.
More interesting vote for a guy who the production probably wouldn't have back since he's stealing their IP and using it to make money. So
I wouldn't say stealing it.
Yeah, stealing. Well, come on. I'm sitting over here literally with Russell's puzzle right behind me. He doesn't steal.
That was the shot at Russell.
Oh yeah. Now you take a shot at the kid's poor business over here. He's just trying to live his life. All right, anyway, guys, so here's your final answers. J.D. Robinson, Ricard Foye, Xander Hastings, Mike Turner, Omar Zaheer, Cody Assenmacher, Jesse Lopez, Matthew Grinstead-Mayle, Jake O'Kane, and Caleb Geberwald. I don't know if I said that last one right. That's it. Those are the 10 names. So go ahead and vote. As Russell said, you got until, or Russell didn't say it, I said it. You got until next Tuesday, January 30th at noon Eastern time to vote for your New Era men and your New Era women. The old school men you can vote for another week after that because we're going to be doing new old school women next week. Should be on Sunday, I believe, probably early because the Niners are playing the Lions, and I'm a Lions fan, and Will's a Niners fan. So we'll do that on Sunday. We certainly aren't doing it any later than early in the morning. So get ready for that, guys. We'll get an official time out there. We'll post it. Thank you all so much for listening. Subscribe to the channel. like the video, share it, become a patron, patreon.com/thespecialist. We've been doing a whole bunch of stuff over there. We're about to dive into Every Season Matters and do Australian Outback coverage. So that's going to be a really good time. And Russell Muscle TV, go follow his channel, like all his videos. And that's it. That's what I got. Thank you all so much for listening. To all the Carson stands, it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
It wasn't meant to be.